sense of community. We want your server to feel like you guys are all allied together against people who are the faceless enemies on the other servers you're trying to take down. You're going to get to know the people on your server, and you're going to get to respect them and play with them and recognize them as you guys band together and fight the other servers in world versus world. And that world versus world PvP is perpetually going on. And you can actually go there and you can level from level 1 to 80 entirely in world versus world PvP if you want. You don't ever have to play PvE.
You guys are revolutionary.
I was just going to say, actually, too, when you kill someone in world versus world, you know, they drop loot, right? You don't have to go back to PvE to get loot, so that's important too.
So one thing I want to underscore with this is, from everything that Colin described, is, you know, people ask, what's your end game content? What do you do, you know, as you go through the game? And what we discovered is that everyone has their own demands for MMO. They play MMOs for different reasons. For social, for PvE, for PvP, for the story base, to build up their character. And what we're doing in our endgame content is we're servicing all those different player styles. We recognize we play them ourselves. And so we're building games we want to play.
Good afternoon. With regards to the scalable AI, I understand, you know, it's great. It's a great idea that you can have it doing the scaling based upon the character's experience. How is it going to handle a mixed level group?
Well, this is a great time to talk about our sidekicking system, which is what also at its core is another community building aspect. So the sidekicking system in Guild Wars 2 works two ways. If you're a high-level character and you go back to a low-level part of the game and you start trying to gank everything and ruin the experience for everybody else, you'll actually be sidekicked down to the level of the content in that map so that you can't ruin the experience for everybody else. So if you're a level 2 and you go back, or you're level 20 and you go back to the level 2 area and you start killing stuff, you'll actually be sidekicked down so you're at the level of that content. Now that comes with an added bonus to it. It means that if someone that you know is playing the game and they just started and you're halfway through the game, you don't have to make a new character to go play with them. You can take your character at whatever level they are, jump back and play with them anywhere in the game, and you can always play with your friends. This is again at that core of we're trying to build a community. And it works the other way. If you're level 2 and I'm level 20, I can sidekick you up to level 20 and you can come play with me wherever I am in the game as well.
Awesome. Thank you.
Do you have any machinima tools planned in the future?
I mean, at the moment, we don't have anything super planned in that area, but there's no lack of awesomeness coming from our community out there.
Okay, thank you.
I would just like to ask what you learned the most from Guild Wars 1 that you've tried to implement and change from Guild Wars 2, not just MMOs in general, but specifically Guild Wars 1.
I think we're all going to come up with different answers, but the big one, I think, the change between the two worlds is going from a primarily instance world that we had in Guild Wars 1 and going to this fully persistent world where we are using instancing primarily as a storytelling tool within your personal story. Whereas, you know, the original Guild Wars, we would have a lot of community, a lot of people hanging out in the outposts, and then you would get out beyond the town and it would thin out very quickly. It would basically be, you know, your gang that is currently running that particular mission. By going to a persistent world, we've expanded that out so you'll be encountering other players all over the world. Anybody else want to throw a different lesson?
We did those things for the same reason. You know, instancing is there to keep people from, you know, messing with each other because we didn't have a system like the dynamic event system. But the dynamic event system is like the real solution to that problem. It doesn't create this other problem of people never see each other.
Also with the adding of the Z-axis, talking from a map builder who's both been on Guild Wars 1 and Guild Wars 2, not being able to jump was actually a very big limitation when we were building maps in Guild Wars 1 because we had to make sure that we roped off all these areas that you couldn't get to, which was really frustrating, we know, for our players because see this really cool landmark and you wouldn't be able to go up and see it. But now with the Z-axis and also with swimming, we're able to let people jump off cliffs. We're letting people swim down at a deep, awesome underwater environments, and it's really making our job fun because we can make this really fully traversable environment that you'll be able to jump and swim and be able to see everything you'd like.
So I have a question for Jeff, who I'm sure is getting sick of my questions by now. Just something that came to me last night. Is there any chance you could give us an indication on the overall population and lifespan of the Norn?
I mentioned, I actually answered this question last night as well at the meet and greet. The problem is that not many Norn die of old age. The last words of many Norn are, "Hey, look at this, Vern." That said, okay, they live into triple digits. They stay very young and active well into their older life. The Master of Holbrook, Newt Whitebears, his father had him when he was 80. So basically, they do live longer than humans. They stay active and vital for much longer than humans, but they also live a lifestyle that can cut down the week very, very quickly.
And is there any indication of roughly how many there are, either in Guild Wars 1 or Guild Wars 2?
I wouldn't say I have a census for them. I would say, in general, I would say all of our races have about the same rough numbers as far as total population. The Norn, the big problem is a lot of them live solitary lives as well. They come into Holbrook when they need to, so no one's really kept track.
The thought of 10,000 Norns is somewhat scary.
It's okay. They can't form an army. They can't even order lunch together.
One of the strengths of Guild Wars 1 was its global community. If I have a friend in Germany or a friend in Australia, which I do, am I going to be able on day one to jump in and play with them, or am I going to have to wait for them to import a copy from America like 3 weeks?
Yeah, great question. And that's actually that's all about our global server design. It's something that we talk about all the time. Awesomeness around Guild Wars 1, we were able to create essentially language districts. We're able to play with people all around the world. It's something that we're still working on with respect to how we're going to enable our friends in Europe to play with us in North America. So you're going to hear more about that as we go, but it's something that is top of mind for us, and we're always talking about it internally.
Another question, if I may, with the dynamic event system, breadcrumbs. How am I going to know where to go when I'm done with a certain area?
So that's a really great question. That's actually, when we first put the system in and we started bringing in usability testers to test it out, it's actually one of the things that we ran into is they wandered out in the world and they started looking around. They go, well, what do I do? And we're like, well, you just go explore. And they go, well, no, but where do I go? And I think everybody has kind of been conditioned by games to this point where you have a marker, you have something always telling you what you should be doing. So what we did is we've added a system to the game called Scouts, where you can talk to these scouts and they highlight locations on the map and show you little hearts on the map where you can go help people out. And these are fun activities you can do in the game world to help different people out and get little rewards for it. And the people that you help out tend to be stationed around areas where you're going to find dynamic events. It's worth noting that the scout system is totally optional for people who love exploring and don't want any direction whatsoever. You never need to talk to a single one of these guys. You can go out, you can discover the hearts, you can discover the events all on your own, but it does provide a little bit of direction for people who need it, and we found that that's been enough to help kind of breadcrumb people through content. As they go through that and they go through their personal story, they end up running into all these events all over the world in the process, and they naturally just kind of get drawn off into the events, and they start to understand after you play the game for a couple hours, oh, this is what it's like. It's not like anything I've ever played before. Okay, now I kind of get it, and they just sort of figure it out.
In Guild Wars 1, we had the Hall of Monuments where you can show off all your best weapons, armors, and titles. In Guild Wars 2, we have the Home Instance. And what ways over the course of the game are we going to be able to improve our home instance?
As you go through your story, your home instance will change as a result of actions that you've taken during that. One example is we give, do you save the orphanage or do you save the hospital? And if you save the orphanage, there are orphans there in your home instance to say wonderful things about you, but this wreckage where the hospital once was, and they have to rebuild. And the vice versa, if you choose to save the hospital, it's still there, and the orphans are wandering the streets saying, oh, we have no place to live. So the effects of what you choose over your personal event will have a dramatic effect on your home instance and make it different from everybody else's. And you want to add anything to that?
No, that's great.
Okay, not at this point.
All right, thank you.
I gotta say that while watching the demo, I was really impressed with the dynamic events. It was really cool to see like 5 people come together, or stumbling upon like 2 people who are down on the ground, one guy's fighting for his life, and then you change the entire battle around by reviving them, and it's awesome. And the battles are actually tough. The monster didn't just like disappear as soon as 5 more people came. So I guess my question is, as we keep playing, we're gonna get kind of used to some of the same old events. Are you gonna be adding new dynamic events as the game length goes on?
I'll take this one. You know, I mean, if you think about it, I mean, Guild Wars 1's almost 6 years old, and we had a major content release last week. So we'll have a solid live team for Guild Wars 2, and you know you're gonna get new content over time. So it's inevitable that you'll see new events out there as the game progresses.
Speaking about that as well, thank you for changing the dervish. My favorite class just got better.
Hey guys. When I was playing the dynamic events, one of the things that popped into my head was, what would stop someone from ruining your experience, running in there, you know, just putting a bullet in something and just kind of sitting around? I mean, like, he's there, so everything gets tougher, but he's not doing anything. Is he still going to get the full amount of experience and amount of credit that everyone else is getting from actually caring and working towards finishing this event?
So when we talk about events dynamically scaling, we always use the word that events dynamically scale to include players who are actively participating in the event. And we use that word because the system actually detects if you are participating and only adds you to the scaling factor if you are doing so. And if you run in, you shoot 1 bullet, and you stand around, it's going to count the fact that you're not actively doing anything towards the event, and it's going to start scaling it back down to remove you from it. It's pretty intelligent AI in that it figures out what's going on and tries to react accordingly. So from that perspective, it's set up so that people cannot grief that kind of content. For the rewards are set up on certain scales. So based on how much participation you do in an event, you can earn bronze, silver, or gold participation, and you earn different amounts of gold, karma, and experience based on how much you participated. We tried to set it up so if somebody comes in and they're basically actively participating in an event, they will earn gold participation. It's important to us that if you're there and you're playing, we're going to reward you completely for doing so. If you run in, you kill a guy and you run off, you'll probably get like bronze participation because you just did a little bit to help, but not enough to qualify.
Awesome. And another question, if I can, just real quick. One of the major gripes that I had with Guild Wars 1 was, you know, you'd go, like, if you wanted to sell anything, you'd go to Commodon, you'd sit there for an entire day, spamming your trade message saying, I want to sell this, please, dear God, let me sell this, oh my God. Are you guys going to add in an auction house? I know Vindictus, in particular, does a great job adding that in. You can put something on there, and within a couple hours it's gone, and you make some nice money that way. Have you thought about that at all?
Yes. Thank you. There is not just an auction house, it's actually what we call marketplace. So you can post items up there, but people can also post bids up there and say, like, I want to buy this item at this price, and then they leave. And then if someone has it and they want to sell it to them, you can just go and look, oh, what are people trying to buy? So it kind of works both ways, that both buyers and sellers don't need to be there. So.
In this game, I know you guys have like the weapons. They give you 5 skills already, and I like that idea. But I was just wondering, like, is there going to be a lot of personalization with the PvP and your skills?
Yeah, it's actually kind of daunting. It's actually a lot more customization than Guild Wars 1 had, even though it doesn't seem like it on the surface, because we're trying to make it easier to understand. But it's very, very overwhelming, and I'll be surprised if anyone in this room understands all of it until a few months after we ship the game. There's so much in there that it's kind of hard to get a grasp of all of it. First, just in a few different ways. The skills in Guild Wars were very complex, and so they only piece together in very, very specific ways. You can backbreaker and then you use crushing blow, but there are a lot of people, I'm sure, brought crushing blow in the first couple weeks of the game without even being able to knock guys down, and it's really quite useless. So what we did is we made the skills a lot more like building blocks, so that you can actually piece them together in so many different ways that just on your weapon alone, there's so much stuff that you're doing that kind of just is complicated. There's traits that modify those skills. There's weapon bonuses. There's the way that those attributes interact with them. There's just so much going on. You have to pick 2 weapon sets. You have to pick, 1 of a few heal skills, 3 out of 20 to 25 utility skills, 1 out of many elite skills. I think just picking the right side of your bar skills alone, there are I think it's something like 87,000 combinations for each profession. So there's going to be